Dobrý deň, vážené dámy, vážení páni, zástupcovia a zástupkyne samospráv a štátnych.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the representatives of self-governing regions and government, many colleagues from NGOs and media representatives. I would like to welcome our colleagues from abroad and foreigners. My name is Barbora Meššová. I am the director of the Human Rights League, and I would like to welcome you at the final online conference of the KapaCITY project. With our friends and colleagues, experts from various areas and many NGOs who are dealing with integration of foreigners in Slovakia, together we've decided to to merge our expertise, and that's how the KapaCITY project was born. The project itself means capacity, so building or creating opportunities, building and improving skills, and it's also a wordplay with city, so a municipality, and this leads to our goal of the KapaCITY project, which is supporting municipalities when it comes to integration of foreigners. So we are together with Milan Lichý Foundation, with the Center for Research Ethnicity, and Initiative Marginal. We all came together. We also contacted the municipalities of Trnava, Banská Bystrica, Košice self-governing region, and Bratislava, of course. And last but not least is the Union of Towns and Municipalities, which represented other municipalities from Slovakia. The project was also supported by the European Union and the Ministry of Interior Affairs from EU funds. We were able to make a project which brought many outcomes in terms of achieving our goals. Our goal was to increase the capacities of municipalities in the field of integration and migration, how to communicate with foreigners about this subject matter, and how to provide services to foreigners. And today we are going to talk about what we have achieved and what we have not achieved, and what barriers still prevail, and what barriers the municipalities still have considering this topic. We started in 2018 in January. 3 years have passed, more than 3 years since then, and in March 2021 our project will be completed, and that's why I've decided to organize this conference to share our achievements and what challenges we still have to face in the future. Why did we decide to make this project? Is that the number of foreigners in our cities is increasing. We're not only a transit country, but we're also the target country for many foreigners who live in Slovakia. The better life we have all together, the more valuable it is for the society. And migration and integration are also a development element. These foreigners also come as workforce, and that's in healthcare or also in the IT sector. And last but not least, the population or the citizens in municipalities are all the people living in municipalities. We often talk about the permanent residents, only the people with permanent residence, but all the people who live in the municipality and are involved and participate in the municipality are the citizens. So that's why we decided to organize an online conference, so we could come closer to you, because traveling is restricted, of course, but we are very happy that we can in an online format gather together and discuss this topic. So the conference is intended for the representatives of municipalities and to all stakeholders who can contribute to the integration of foreigners. And we believe that we will also inspire many municipalities, or there will be mutual inspiration. The conference will be held for 2 days. The first day So today, local policies and the preparation of municipality employees will be the topic, and the participation or involvement of foreigners. And tomorrow we will discuss the communication with public, providing information to foreigners, and we will also discuss recommendations to how the conditions could be improved in order to be able to fully deal with this topic. All the panels are composed of some presentations and moderated discussion, and then also some examples from abroad, and finally the discussion. As you have seen in the instruction you've received per email, you can ask questions. So please use Slido app to raise questions with the hashtag KapaCITY. And for those, so the presentations will be held in Slovak or in Czech language, and English presentations will be interpreted into Slovak. And for those who are listening to us in English, we have also provided simultaneous interpretation into English. So if you have any technical difficulties with interpretation, video or audio, or any technical difficulties, please contact our technician. His contact details can be found in the email with instruction. We are also on live on Facebook, so we are live streaming this conference on Facebook. And finally, I would like to tell that I'm really happy that what we have achieved in our project. So today is the final point of all the outcomes and discussions we've had. So it's really we're really excited, and I think I can say that our project was a really good contribution to this topic. And now I would like to give the floor to our partners from municipalities who will tell a few words. So Matúš Vallo, the mayor of Bratislava, deputy mayor Milan Lichý, deputy mayor of Trnava, Eva Nemčovská, head of the regional development department of Košice self-governing region, Mr. Matej Ovčiarka, and last but not least, Jana Červenáková, who is the director of the Union of Cities in Slovakia. Good morning from Banská Bystrica. I would many greetings to the final capacity conference of the capacity project focused on integration of foreigners at local level. It is clear for us in Banská Bystrica when in 1255 the King Bela IV awarded burger rights to Waldbürger, the German settlers. He called them hospites nostrum, our guests. And this Latin word has encoded bringing together. So that means integration is about bringing together, and I wish for the conference to be successful. I wish to meet and connect and bring together new citizens of Slovakia, of Banská Bystrica and other cities in Slovakia to do something together for the society and for them to make them feel like home. So many greetings from Banská Bystrica.
Trnava je krajské mesto a najmä mesto otvorené pre život ľudí z rôznych kútov sveta. Snažíme sa, aby v nej spokojne nažívali všetci jej obyvatelia, či už sa v nej narodili alebo pricestovali zblízka alebo zďaleka. Je dôležité, aby sme ľuďom z iných krajín, ktorí si za svoj nový domov vybrali práve Trnavu, uľahčili ich integráciu a vytvorili im lepšie podmienky na slušný a dôstojný život. S tým ide samozrejme ruka v ruke aj vnímanie ľudí z iných kultúr zo strany majoritnej spoločnosti. Neznáme sa totiž môže javiť ako neistota či hrozba a ten, kto sa bojí, nevníma okolnosti vecne a otvorene. Jednou z našich najdôležitejších úloh je teda zoznamovať verejnosť s novými situáciami, vysvetľovať, prepájať, ponúkať osobné, pozitívne skúsenosti a meniť tak neznáme na známe, ba dokonca aj obohacujúce. Je pred nami ešte dlhá cesta, ale vďaka projektom, ako napríklad aj KapaCITY, sme na ňu už vykročili. Tému migrácie treba riešiť profesionálne, s víziou, s dátami a poznaním toho, koho oslovujeme. Nevyhnutné sú aj dostatočné personálne kapacity. Ak budeme tejto téme venovať dostatočnú pozornosť, prinesie to benefity celej spoločnosti.
Dobrý deň, moje meno je Matej Ovčiarka, som vedúci odboru regionálneho rozvoja Košického samosprávneho kraja. A dovolte, aby som vás pozdravil v mene aj pána predsedu Košického samosprávneho kraja Rastislava Trnku ako účastníkov záverečnej konferencie projektu KapaCITY. Chcel som sa úvodom veľmi pekne poďakovať za občiansku iniciatívu, ktorá tento projekt zabezpečila a umožnila aj Košickému samosprávnemu kraju, aby na tomto projekte participoval. Pre Košický samosprávny kraj je to veľmi hodnotný poznatok, že od 2018 máme šancu sa zoznamovať s datami a s informáciami, ktoré sú nám potrebné a užitočné v rámci prípravy nových projektov, stratégií a programov, ktoré máme v zodpovednosti na našom odbore regionálneho rozvoja. Ešte raz by som chcel veľmi pekne vám zaželať všetkým, aby ste našli odpovede na otázky, ktoré ste si vytýčili v pozvánke na túto záverečnú konferenciu a do budúcnosti vám prajem hlavne veľa zdravia a úspechov. Ďakujem.
Bratislava má tradíciu mesta na hranici. Mesta, v ktorom sa po stáročia prelinali rôzne kultúry, národnosti a jazyky. Idea multikultúrnej Bratislavy je už za nami, ale myslím si, že táto charakteristika stále mesto a jeho obyvateľov inšpiruje a môže byť základom aj pre novú identitu Bratislavy v 21. storočí. Je môjim cieľom vrátiť Bratislave jej kozmopolitný charakter a identitu postavenú na rozmanitosti. Ako primátor hlavného mesta Slovenskej republiky Bratislavy som nastupoval do funkcie s jasnou víziou. Urobiť Bratislavu otvoreným, tolerantným a priateľským mestom voči všetkým bez rozdielu, ktorí v ňom žijú, pracujú, prispievajú k jeho rozvoju. Budem sa snažiť, aby Bratislava bola hlavným mestom pre všetkých jej obyvateľov. Pre rodených Bratislavčanov, Slovákov z rôznych kútov Slovenska, ale i prisťahovalcov zo zahraničia. Preto som veľmi rád, že hlavné mesto podniklo prvé kroky k naplneniu tohto cieľa a aktívne komunikuje s organizáciami občianskej spoločnosti, ktoré sa venujú téme integrácie cudzincov na území Slovenska. Ďakujem vám, robíte mimoriadnu prácu a projekt KapaCITY je v tejto oblasti prelomovým projektom. Som hrdý, že sme boli jeho súčasťou. Veľa sme sa naučili, tým projektom sme naštartovali tému integrácie cudzincov v samospráve a máme aj ambíciu ďalej pokračovať v naštartovaných vzdelávacích a komunikačných aktivitách, či v tvorbe rôznych materiálov, ktoré príslušníkom tretích krajín prinesú konečne prehľadné informácie pre ľahké zorientovanie sa v samospráve. Uvedomujem si, že v tejto oblasti máme ešte čo doháňať, a verím, že aj prvé malé kroky, ako napríklad preklad informácií a web stránky k opatreniam počas aktuálnej pandemickej situácie, či preklad zoznamu odberných miest sú dôkazom, že sme tu pre všetkých obyvateľov a obyvateľky hlavného mesta. Na záver by som chcel pozdraviť všetkých účastníkov záverečnej konferencie KapaCITY. Želám, aby výsledky tohto projektu pretrvali a aby boli veľkou inšpiráciou aj pre iné samosprávy. Rovnako si želám, aby sme všetci, nielen v Bratislave, verili a uvedomili si bohatstvo rozmanitosti, ktorú nám príslušníci cudzích štátov prinášajú, aby sme ho naozaj začali využívať.
Slovensko v minulosti mimoriadne ovplyvnili cudzinci, ktorí k nám prichádzali z rôznych krajín a priniesli do tejto krajiny rôzne kultúry a rôzne vymoženosti a výrazným spôsobom prispeli k rozvoju mestskej kultúry. V 21. storočí sa veľa vecí zmenilo, ale znovu sme v situácii, keď sa premiešavajú národy a naozaj tá migrácia je veľkým príspevkom pre rozvoj aj kultúry, aj zmien, aj technológií v krajinách. Tak ako naši obyvatelia odchádzajú do cudziny a prinášajú tam naše poznatky a naše skúsenosti, tak prichádzajú k nám študenti, pracovníci, vedeckí pracovníci, zamestnanci, kadekto. Títo ľudia niekde žijú, majú svoju kultúru, majú svoje potreby a mestá sa budú musieť v nejakej dobe tomuto trendu prispôsobiť. Táto doba ukázala, že sociálny vplyv zmien na život v mestách je obrovský. V tejto chvíli je ťažko povedať, kde sa vývoj zastaví a čo nám priniesie, ale v každom prípade je to doba, ktorá veľmi ľudí citlivala, vyžaduje si oveľa viac súcitu, vyžaduje si oveľa viac pochopenia toho, čo sa deje nielen u nás, ale aj vo svete a nikdy nevieme, či my sami raz takú pomoc potrebovať nebudeme. Tento vývoj sa zastaviť nedá a je lepšie byť proaktívny ako reaktívny, keď nastanú problémy a myslím si, že tá doba nastala. Mestá preukázali svoju životaschopnosť, vytvorili pre obyvateľov tú primárnu záchrannú sieť v tejto zložitej situácii rovnako ako tomu bolo v minulosti. A ja si myslím, že sú pripravení predstavitelia miest aj samosprávy zvládať ďalšie výzvy, ktoré pred nimi 21. storočie prinesie. Je potrebné mestám vytvoriť preto podmienky finančné, aby mestské rozpočty pozitívne pocítili aj to, že v nich žijú cudzinci, aby mali vytvorené samosprávy všetky podmienky preto, aby mohli tieto iné kultúry v tých mestách prijať a vytvoriť im naozaj dobré podmienky pre zaradenie do života. Verím, že tento projekt je jeden z nástrojov, ktorý toto tým mestám ukáže a že tá skúsenosť bude prospešná pre obidve strany.
Thank you very much for your kind words and for your message from the involved municipalities and the Union of Cities in Slovakia. We believe that we will fulfill these words. Now we move on in our agenda. So Elena Gallová Kriglerová will continue from the Center for Research of Ethnicity and Culture. Research is their focus, so they always take the research and detailed research into consideration. And in the capacity project, we also started with research. Now it's 2021, and Elena will tell you something more about foreigners and their integration today, so the current situation and their research. Thank you very much, Basha. As you said, our organization is a research center, research institution, and every project we are covering, we are trying to build on data, on a good, proper knowledge of the situation, and to listen to all the stakeholders of the local policies. In 2018, we made a qualitative, we conducted a qualitative research, and in 2020 we also did research focused on integration of foreigners from many perspectives. So we are trying to build a compilation of the perception of foreigners. The research was divided into three parts. The first part dealt with the mapping of the situation at the local level. The second stage of the research, the attitudes of our population were mapped, and the third stage, which will follow in the upcoming months and weeks, we will talk to the foreigners about how they perceive the situation in Slovakia. But today I prepared a presentation of the first stage of our research focused on the municipality level. So please, you can turn. Okay, as you know, the coronavirus pandemic started in March 2020, and this was the time when we started conducting our research. So it was really difficult at the beginning, and despite this fact, I think we were able to collect many useful data which tell us more about the situation of foreigners and their integration. So next slide, please. Okay, so when you look at this chart, the number of foreigners in Slovakia is significantly increasing. On this chart, you can see that in 2010 in Slovakia there were only about 60,000 foreigners, and in 2020, at the end of the year, we have more than 150,000 foreigners. the green and yellow line shows the third country nationals and EU nationals. When in the past there were more people from the third country, but more from EU countries, but now there are more and more people from third countries. We are not talking only about Africa or Asian countries, but these can be the USA and Canada as well. So all the countries outside of the European Union. How our research was conducted. As I mentioned earlier, it was a really difficult time in April 2020, and we prepared a questionnaire, a survey for all regional cities in Slovakia, and they were sent our questionnaires from many fields. We've received 55 filled out questionnaires considering the current situation or the situation in that time. We think that's a really a huge success. And in summer, when the situation improved a little, we conducted almost 60 qualitative interviews with many stakeholders at local level, which focused on more detailed information on the integration of foreigners. And these interviews were conducted in all regional cities, and the results are as follows. 61% of municipalities which sent their questionnaires have an overview of how many people or how many foreigners live in their city. And what we also realized in our qualitative research, the more detailed information on the composition of the foreigners, where they come from and how they are doing in the cities, they do not have such information. So we have the basic data. The municipalities are aware of them, but they do not work with the data. The municipalities also know where this data can be found. They know that from the immigration police provide such information and other institutions as well, but they do not work with the data on a regular basis, and they do not evaluate the data. And this means they do not use it as a source for policy making. We know that in Slovakia, demographical crisis is very strong, is very present in Slovakia, and when it comes to analyzing the policies of particular cities, we can see that the migration, that the municipalities do not count on the migration and on these changes, and this is also reflected. This is also reflected in foreigners being invisible in local policy. This means that the municipalities which were contacted and which provided the filled out questionnaires, very few of them have created a strategy for integration because they do not consider this topic important. And what we also have to say is, and this also thanks to the KapaCITY and other projects which NGOs work on, and this is their contribution to the municipalities who start to focus on this subject matter. Those are the municipalities cooperating with NGOs or citizen initiatives. So even if there are some strategies, development strategies created, foreigners are not included as a target group. When we talk to municipalities, they told us they are not perceived as a target group because foreigners in cities are not a problem. And we think this is very unfortunate because municipalities often have to deal with vulnerable groups when the situation is at its worst. And we think that successful municipalities at the integration are those municipalities who are preparing in long term, and they do not only wait. Also, foreigners are very often perceived as general population or general public. So that means the approach of municipalities is that they are equal citizens, but they forget or they do not realize the specific needs and the legal status or cultural specifics of the foreigners, and they do not realize that there are some characteristics in terms of legislation and in other areas as well, which make the situation for the foreigners more complicated at local level. The municipalities are not well informed on the legislation and the providing of social services at local level, and this creates many barriers. And these barriers are related to information, which also Mayor Vallo mentioned. So they would like to improve the situation. The municipality employees do not know how to communicate with foreigners, how to gather information on their needs, and how to communicate with the public in general. And the communication is, as I said, the foreigners are not considered a problem. That's why policies are not targeted at these at the foreigners, and this also is reflected in the communication. When there is a problem, the municipality reacts, but they are not proactive in communication with the communication to foreigners. The reason behind is the municipalities have concerns of negative reactions from the public, and they do not have communication strategies at their disposal which would deal with this topic. This will be even more intensified in the future because we can assume that the number of foreigners will grow in municipalities, and all these barriers were covered or were discussed within the last 3 years at the capacity project, and we will also talk about how we succeeded in communicating with the municipalities and eliminating these barriers.
Predtým, než sa pustíme už do toho prvého panelu, v ktorom budeme rozprávať o tom zviditeľňovaní cudzincov ako cieľovej skupiny v tých miestnych politikách, tak ešte vám moja kolegyňa Michaela Dojčinovičová, ktorá je ale teda nie je tu na v štúdiu, poskytne taký stručný prehľad o výstupoch projektu KapaCITY. Samozrejme, bude sa im venovať len veľmi stručne. V podrobnostiach sa totiž k tým výstupom jednotlivým dostaneme počas panelov rôznych, počas dnešného aj toho zajtrajšieho dňa. A takisto pripravujeme pre vás takú záverečnú tlačovú publikáciu, v ktorej mnohé tieto výstupy budú prezentované. Takže nech sa páči, odovzdávam slovo Miške do Košíc.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne. Verím, že ma je počuť. Ja si teraz zazdieľam prezentáciu. Dobre, takže ďakujem ešte raz veľmi pekne za slovo. Kým prejdem k tým hlavným výstupom projektu KapaCITY, tak by som najprv uviedla, že vychádzali z takých 5 hlavných projektových aktivít, ktoré sme si v príprave projektu KapaCITY stanovili. Prvým z nich bola tvorba existujúcich, respektíve revízia lokálnych stratégií v otázke migrácie a integrácie, čo úzko súvisí s tým, o čom pred chvíľou hovorila Elena. Druhou veľkou aktivitou projektu boli vzdelávacie aktivity pre pracovníkov samosprávy, ďalej to bol rozvoj komunikačných zručností samospráv v otázke migrácie a integrácie, takisto sieťovanie relevantných aktérov v tejto téme a v neposlednom rade vytvorenie informačných materiálov pre samosprávy. Takže, ako som už povedala, v prvej téme, v prvej aktivite sme sa venovali stratégiám na lokálnej úrovni, kde sme na začiatku projektu realizovali podrobný výskum v zapojených samosprávach, ktorého výsledkom boli zistenia a odporúčania, ktoré boli následne komunikované zapojeným samosprávam na koordinačných stretnutiach, kde sme si teda spolu so samosprávami určili aj priority každej samosprávy a diskutovali o tom, akými aktivitami sa vieme pokúsiť realizovať tieto priority v praxi. Takisto sme pre každú zapojenú samosprávu pripravili samostatnú výskumnú správu. No a Centrum pre výskum etnicity a kultúry pripravilo príručku pre tvorbu integračných stratégií na lokálnej.
We also prepared a strategy document for our partner, and our partner Marginal also dealt with other materials to provide us of social services. We dealt with barriers we have to face, or foreigners have to face, when they want to access these kind of services. Like it was mentioned by Elena, we also talked about the composition of foreigners. We did not only discuss about the number of foreigners living in our municipalities, but we discussed also about the type of residence permits they have. So, in this sense, we drafted a set of recommendations for our municipalities so they know how to use it, how to share such information. How we were successful in this kind of activities, we will discuss in the upcoming panel. The second big topic were educational and training activities for employees of municipalities, where we carried out 7 intercultural trainings aimed at the introduction of the integration of foreigners, of cultural differences, etc. And the target group were teachers at kindergarten and primary schools. Then we carried out several social and legal trainings where we covered the rights and obligations of foreigners resulting from these kinds of residences, and we also dealt with social issues. We also covered the sustainable education of workers of our municipalities once this project is over. And for this purpose, we created web page, KapaCITY.sk, and we created also a guide of good practice from abroad. And our goal was to study good practice from abroad. And to this end, in January 2019, we visited the Czech Republic, and we went to Prague and also to Brno. And the result of this cooperation with Prague and Brno was that during this conference, we have several speakers from the Czech Republic who will present their findings. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we were not able to organize more trips abroad, but our partners also were able to cope with this difficult situation, and the Milan Lichý Foundation prepared a summary of good practice in Slovak and also a summary of good practice in Slovakia and the guide of good practice from abroad. These materials will be included within the final materials of the project capacity. And as I have already said, during the panel on how to prepare municipalities employees to the phenomenon of integration will be dealt with. Then we also dealt with the topic of the development of communication skills in municipalities in the field of integration. We carried out 4 communication trainings. 3 of them were performed in cooperation with the agency Europea. And we covered We covered the role of the mass media in Slovakia on how they inform about the integration of foreigners in Slovakia. And we also presented some examples of good practice in this field. And we wanted to train municipalities on how to communicate this topic on the social media. Then we published a series of articles about foreigners living in Slovakia. This series of articles can be found on the social media or on the internet website of the Human Rights League. And as to the communication with the public, we will discuss it tomorrow. And we will also discuss the communication trainings and the communication material, communication manual on how to communicate with foreigners at local level. It will be presented by Ms. Dobrucka. Next activity was the networking of relevant stakeholders. We based our findings on the motto that foreigners do not know municipalities and municipalities do not know foreigners living on their territory. So that's why we decided to organize meetings and workshops in order to create networking between municipalities and foreigners. We tried to create platforms for foreigners, and we used the role of cultural mediators. Such mediators gave us their feedback on our activities. So I think you will have the possibility to listen to their testimonies tomorrow from 11:30 when they will present their activities they covered during the duration of the project Capacity. We organized 40 meetings with more than 500 participants among foreigners, municipalities, representatives, and the population and general population. We also tried to contact the central state authorities because we wanted to draft for them materials in order to improve their policies. And we also had another activity, which was participation in the consultation procedure before adopting laws related to the topic of foreigners in the Slovak Republic. And also we drafted recommendations for state authorities, and I think it will be covered by Barbora at the end of our conference tomorrow. And last but not least, I would like to finish by stating that we created and drafted information leaflets and booklets for foreigners. We based our knowledge, our experience on the fact that foreigners do not know much about our municipalities. So we specialized on the types of residence that are being granted to foreigners in Slovakia, but we also specialized on how municipalities can help foreigners in Slovakia. We also created a specialized webpage called KapaCITY.sk. We also drafted the newsletters with updated information covering the pandemic situation and measures related to coronavirus. And we also wanted to give more information to foreigners to explain them why it is important to connect them with municipalities, but it will be covered tomorrow. So thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all a fruitful meeting today. Thanks.